and thank you for being here for another good podcast on Wisdom on the Front Porch. It's going to be a great podcast. We've got Scott with us today. And Scott, tell our audience just a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you. I've been blessed. I've done a lot of things over my career, but basically a speaker and trainer, and have had the opportunity to do over 3,000 live events in my career, sharing the stage with virtually
Wow.
every name everybody knows. They may or may not know mine. That's fine. It wasn't my task at the time. My task was to do certain other things. And some of those stories that come out of that are pretty amazing. Not necessarily all the on-stage stuff. It's really the back in the green room, sitting around and just talking with some of the best is really exciting.
Well, that's where we want to go today, I think. So
Perfect.
Here on Wisdom on the Front Porch, for those that are new, I appreciate you listening today. For those who listen regularly, thank you so much for coming back. Appreciate your support. But we're here as entrepreneurs to help other entrepreneurs get to where they're going. And we do that with the stories of our journey. And Scott obviously has had an amazing journey. I'm going to find out a little bit about that. And it's good to know the things that maybe didn't go right, didn't go as you thought was planned. I don't believe in failures. There's challenges. It's just the way it goes. And what do? You learn from it and you go on. So Scott, give us just a little bit of your background of when did you first become an entrepreneur? Was it something you've done since childhood or?
Well, it's interesting. I was going to school. I was playing Big Ten football. I was going to get a degree, a Bachelor of Business Administration degree. And I was going to graduate at a time where there were no jobs. And I thought, what was going to make me different? What would make me stand out or give me choices? And so I became a licensed life insurance agent at the age of 18 while going to college and playing Big Ten football.
Wow.
And that personal face-to-face communication ability that I learned through that period gave me choices. I had 7 job offers when most people had none. So I was very blessed. I was able to then pick and choose and take the path that I felt best for me at that time. My dad worked for the same company for 46 years, from the time he was 17 till he was 63 when he retired. So of course, what that meant for me is become a corporate guy, because that's the model you followed, right? And so I followed that model, and I rocketed to the top of that company. I was, again, very blessed in it all. But about 12 or 13 years into it, shocker, corporate America changed. Now, it's only changed a gazillion times since, but for me, that was the first big change. And I chose to go out on my own, be an entrepreneur, start to consult and do all that. And I would consult, be absorbed by a company, we'd exit, I'd do it again. So I did that multiple times. And then about almost 25 years ago now, I thought I could be of more service to more people if I took my ability to stand in front of a room or stand in front of people and share messages that could serve. I felt I could serve more people to become a professional speaker and trainer. And that's what I did. So that's why I've done 3,000 live events since. So something must have worked out okay.
That's right. That's amazing. Wow, 3,000. That's incredible. So what do you speak on? When you're speaking, does it vary?
Yeah, it really, I set out to be a keynoter, like many people do. I just wanted to put good in the world however I could, share messages of hope and inspiration. Classically, I'm a sales guy, and every time we open our mouth, we're making a sale. And so sales training was a lot of it as well, and helping demystifying the whole selling process. Selling is actually serving. So helping people understand the service nature of it all. And then there were periods of time where I was actually presenting an offer from stage and showing people how that would in fact improve their lives. So it's
Oh,
been, when you gain the skill set and the knowledge and the how to speak and the things that it takes to speak, you get, and you have enough experience, you get to the point where you can pretty much talk about almost anything, anytime, and
that's
at least
awesome.
sound like you've got some kind of idea what you're doing.
Yeah. Uh, that's just great. I love that. I do want to touch about on the subject that you brought up about sales, marketing, and I know there's a difference. Marketing is talking about, sales is actually making the sale. And most entrepreneurs say, I don't like the sales part of it. I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to do this. But if we don't do that as entrepreneurs, we've got a hobby. We don't have an income.
Right.
And first time I heard that, it made me really mad because this is not a hobby. It's what I want my career to be, you
Right.
know. But it was the truth. If you're not bringing in money, and so I'm not, I know sales sometimes has like that negative connotation with it being salesy and whatnot, but we have to tell people about our products and we have to tell them why it's good for them. And I know that's a really big hurdle, bridge, whatever you want to call it, wall to break down for a lot of entrepreneurs. So let's kind of talk about that if we can for a
Yeah.
little bit. Um, what does it mean to market and sell your product? Um,
Well, classically, let's go to the Webster's definitions. Let's get really
okay,
official. Sales is the exchange of a product, good, or service for an amount of money or its equivalent. It's just an exchange of one thing for another.
right.
So there's nothing in that definition that should get everybody all worked up. Um, and I'll get into this a lot. Marketing, on the other hand, is simply telling people that you have an offer, a product, good, or service. So marketing is just kind of the sharing the fact that you have an offer. The sales itself is the offer. Well,
Right.
I
So
created my,
those looking here can, if you're watching the video, you see my books behind me. So that's marketing there. But that doesn't bring me sales per
well,
se.
sales is, you can't, marketing is saying that you have books available. Sales
Okay.
would be saying these books are $10 a piece or all of them for $29. It's
Okay.
actually it's actually stating the offer itself. That's why I created my heart-centered selling definition of sales, which is education through communication without manipulation.
Oh, I
Selling
like that.
is really about educating people through a conversation on the benefits they will derive when they make that decision. And why people get wrapped around the axle about sales is because they more than likely are not understanding that selling truly is serving. What do I mean by that? The sales process is only 4 words: identify problem, provide solution. It's all it is.
Okay.
It's no more uh, exciting than that, and it's no more negative than that. It's just, you've got a problem, I've got a solution.
Yes,
The
it's
challenge
the
comes when,
toilet bowl cleaner. Keep your toilet clean all the time. Here's a cleaner that's going to do that. I
it,
mean,
yeah, I mean, nobody
it's
sits there and
simply
says, "Oh man, they tried to jam that toilet bowl cleaner down my throat." Right? The point is, it's somebody has a problem, somebody has a solution. The challenge most people have, when they, especially when they go, "I don't want to be salesy," is
right.
when you try to get something to do something for your reasons, as opposed to getting them to take action for their own reasons.
Oh,
You've got various books back there that share pieces of information that will in fact help somebody. They'll feel good about their life. They will feel
Right.
better about their situation. They will learn a tip, a technique, a strategy that they need to be successful themselves. That's serving them. So how can you feel bad about serving somebody? You
Right.
really can't. It's if they have no desire for any of the information that's in your books, it's somebody that has no original intention, and you say, these are the best books in the history of ever, you need them. And they go, will they solve my problem? And you know they won't, but you say they will. That's manipulation. That's what
Right.
people, I think, get upset about is, quite frankly, as a sales professional, I don't want to sell anybody anything ever, but I do always want them to buy a lot from me. So it's my job to simply present it in such a way that they can understand the advantages that they'll gain if they make that decision. Again, if I sell you something and it doesn't turn out the way I have suggested it will, you will be mad at me.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you buy something because you feel there's enough good reasons to do so, you will never be mad at you, and you will never be mad at me, because I'm not the person that convinced you to do it. You did, right? You made that call. And so again, that's why I don't ever want to sell anybody anything. Do I supply a lot of solutions to people? All the time. But it's because it will make their life better.
Right.
And that's the thing that I think people sometimes don't understand is people sometimes, entrepreneurs especially, tend to create a solution that's good for them personally, and therefore they now think everybody else has that same problem and their solution would be good for them too. And
Right.
in a lot of cases, it's really not. And so they get so pent up about trying to get people to love their solution that they forget that they haven't solved a problem.
Right. And
There's
maybe
no,
they don't understand what the problem is. That was
and that's,
one of the things I was presented with in my books is, I don't have a problem writing stories. I wake up at 3 in the morning and I write a children's book before my husband goes to work that same day. For me, there was not the issue of I don't have time. So I was not presenting my service to people who didn't have time. They says, I don't have time. Well, now that life has changed for me, I do understand firsthand what they're talking about. And it's like, oh, yeah, I get it.
yeah,
So
I mean,
now I feel
that
like I
becomes,
have a solution for them.
right. It becomes asking enough questions. Say, hey,
Yeah.
I've been blessed. I've written 24 books. Well, why? Well, because there have been people who have asked me about situations and could I document that? And, if this addresses your situation, it's probably a pretty good book to get. But I don't sit there and expect everybody to buy every one of my books
Right.
because they're topical. They solve a different problem when I wrote them. I
Right.
wasn't trying to write a series or anything like that. I was just trying to solve problems, right? And so I agree with you that, sometimes people, I think that's what's interesting. I can't tell you how many emails I get a day that say, hey, have you ever thought of writing a book? Well, I've written 24. How about doing a little research here? you know, and
That's
I'm not,
funny because I got one the other day. It's like, if you've never written a book, you should write a book with us. And it's like, well, I've got 35. So,
well,
I think I know what I'm doing now.
well, that's what I'm saying is,
Seven.
right. Is people try to get people to do things um, for the salesperson's reasons, not for the customer's reasons.
Right.
And so I always suggest, if learning how to talk to people easier is of value to you, if, having the process go smoother for you, if making a sale at a higher margin works for you, if you can do it all in less time, if you can do it for a longer duration, if you can say yes to one or all of those things, you might want to invest $19.95 in this book.
I think I just had a light bulb go off in my head. And because I used to, when I first got out of college, I actually got into sales. I sold business cards. I did different things, and it was easy for me. I just talked to the people and told them what we offered and stuff. But I realize now it's because they already wanted the service. They called our company and I went to them because they wanted what we had. The difference with being an entrepreneur is you don't know if that person wants what you have. And you don't want to be the person that comes into the room and tries to sell everybody a thing, or when they come into the room, it's like, oh, they're so and so. It's like, no, I don't want to talk to them because they're always talking about what they've got and how they're selling it. I just want to have a conversation with a friend today, type thing. And we don't want to be that person. And I think sometimes we shy away from selling things because, one, maybe we don't have the confidence that we're solving a problem, or maybe we really don't know what the problem is people have. It solved my problem, but does anybody else have that problem? We don't know how to go about that.
Well, but that's a big part of what I teach and what I coach is,
okay.
How do you find that out? You ask them. If there's like I said, would you like to sell more of your products? It's a yes or no question. If you say, no, I'm good, then there's no need for what I have. If the answer is yes, I'd like to sell more. Okay, good. Well, that's not the end all be all. It's not one question and you're done, right? So would you like to make it easier? Well, yeah. When you do it, would you like to make more money each time? Well, that would be great. Okay, so the point is, the more of those things that people say, yeah, would it be okay if I share a thought with you? That's gaining permission. Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's a big thing. Most of us don't gain permission from the other person. We're just so excited about what we've got.
Oh my God,
got to tell you about it.
Somebody will talk to me. No, well, that's exactly it. It was funny. So I was at a networking meeting not long ago, 100 people in the room. The organizers are making some announcements, so everybody's pretty well packed together. I'm kind of off away from it, looking at who's paying attention, who's not, who am I going to talk to after the announcements are done. And a woman comes up, stands next to me. She looks at the group. She looks at me. She looks at the group. She looks at me. She goes, oh my God, I'm already overwhelmed.
Oh, wow.
And I looked at her and I said, excuse me? She goes, I don't even know where to start. And so I turned to her and I smiled at her. And she goes, oh my God, you're smiling at me. Why are you smiling at me? I said, I'm simply answering your question. She goes, what do you mean? I said, you ask, where do you start? You start with a smile. See, then that caused you to say, what the hell are you doing smiling at me? To which now I am answering you. Technically, they call this a conversation. And she goes, you're good at this. I said, I'm really good at this. And she goes, do you have a card? And I said, I certainly do. I now have 9 cents invested in you. And she goes, what does that mean? I said, it's called a joke to kind of lighten the mood. And she goes, you are good at this. I said, I think you should call me. She goes, I think I will. The point is, and I said, can I ask what you do for a living? She said, I'm a financial planner. I said, there are 100 people between us and the door. I mean, they've got to come past us to get to the door. Those are 100 prospects, and you're overwhelmed and you haven't talked to anybody yet. What are they going to do? Eat you? And she goes, I doubt it. I said, exactly. You weren't talking to them before. If they don't talk to you, they're still You still didn't talk to them. Nothing got worse. Might not have gotten better, but it didn't get worse. So why not just go and say hi to somebody? What is it you do? Gosh, I'd like to learn about you. Would you share? And truly be interested in somebody. Work to be interested, not interesting. Find out about them, and that's what it comes down to. And again, I think when it comes to sales, so many people are so enamored with their own solutions that they forget it's not about them. It's about the person they're talking to. If you have a problem that I can solve, you will be grateful for me to solve that. Now, there's some pretty graphic examples of that. It would be like somebody having a terminal illness, and the person who's talking to them has a solution to that terminal illness, but chooses not to share it. That would be pretty selfish, right? And I'm not, again, I don't want to go to all those depths, but if you truly believe in your solution, that it can help the right person at the right time, selling is serving. How can you not feel good about that?
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Case in point, if you don't have a sign to stop a bull and someone here has a sign to stop the bull from running you over, you're gonna want to get that sign. But if they're hiding it and saying, "Oh, sorry, I'm just gonna plow you over," or I
Yes,
gotta
that
bring
might
it
even be
home.
a practical situation.
Yeah, would like to have that sign last week. Oh, yeah. No, that's, there's a lot of truth to that. When I started going to events, and I'd never been to events or anything before, I was actually asking my mentor at the time, it's like, I don't know how to talk to people. He goes, "What do you mean you don't know how to talk? You talk to me all the time." I says, "I don't know how to talk to strangers anymore. It's been too long." And so he gave me a solution to talk with people. I actually have it on my website under my freebies, but it made such a difference. And I went to this event and I talked to people using this form that he gave me. And what a difference it made, because it wasn't about me at that point. It was about them, finding out what they like, what they're interested in, what they're doing. And it made it so much more enjoyable. And we had great conversations, and they asked what I did, and but keeping it about them really opened up the door for a great conversation, to find out what's really going on with people, what they're doing, why they're doing what they do. Um,
People make it
it's
way too hard, like even if you're standing in line at Starbucks. Well, gosh, what would I ask them? What's your favorite drink here?
yeah, yeah,
Coffee, knucklehead. That's why I'm coming here for coffee, right? But almost nobody goes
right,
there for coffee. They go
yeah,
for some frappa something, 47
right.
pumps, and they tell you their life story by how much sugar they put in their drink. You know,
That's funny because I've brought up the story before about my husband and I when after we were first married, and I'm standing in the grocery line talking to the people next to me, and he goes, after we're out of there, he's like, "How can you do that?" I mean, it just embarrassed him. And I'm like, "How can I do what? How can you just talk to somebody like that? You don't know them." And I go, "Well, I'm not going to get to know them either if I don't talk to them." And I said, "We're just having a conversation. How boring is it to stand in line, especially if it's a long line and the cashier is slow for whatever reason, sometimes it happens, and you're standing there, or everybody's kind of impatient, and it's like, I don't like being around people that are angry and impatient, so let's strike up a conversation and have some fun with it." I remember reading a joke about one guy who's got a bag of dog food there, and the woman in front of him, she's just kind of waiting for the people in front of her to hurry up and get done. And she goes, "Oh, you have a bag of dog food, I see." And he goes, "Yeah, they make great snacks." And she looks at him, and it's like, "For your dog, right?" And he goes, "Oh, no, I got some here in my pocket." Well, he had some little candies in his pocket. He takes them and pops them in his mouth. And the rides are like that big. They're huge. And so they start laughing about it. He goes, "No, no, no, that's okay." And it's just, there was a time I went into the called them 7-Elevens, whatever it was, we called them all 7-Elevens, whether they were or
Convenience
not.
store, yeah.
And I'm very pregnant, and it's hot out. I mean, it's really hot. Everybody's tired. Got some ice cream. I got a can of tobacco for my husband. And I go to the checkout. She goes, "That's really bad for you." And I go, "Yeah, but when you're pregnant, you get the weirdest cravings sometimes." Everybody started laughing. One, because we'd already been talking and having conversations.
Yeah.
And it was like so kind of like the weather before a storm. It just gets real tense and everything, and then all of a sudden it lets loose.
Yep.
And it just kind of let loose, and everybody just kind of calmed down and enjoyed themselves. And they were talking then, but it just takes, one thing to do. And something,
Well, that's
somebody
just it.
says, "Don't ever be silly." I'm sorry. It was worth it to be silly at that point. I mean,
It is. It's one of those, we're social beings, and that's why when the pandemic came out and they came out with the, social distancing, I made a
oh,
video
that's tough.
immediately. And I said I refuse to social distance. I will physical distance if somebody believes that is the correct thing to do for health. I will not social distance. We are social beings. We are meant to be
Oh,
able to
yeah.
talk to people. And so I'm going to up my social game. And that's why I think, part of the,
You rebel, you.
I know, exactly. But I mean, I think that that's part of the fun of it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there are opening questions that I teach people. And these are not rocket science, but it's things like, what's new and exciting in your world? It's designed to get them to talk about something that's new and exciting in their world, right? Or
Yeah.
if you could improve one thing in your ... what would it be? If you could improve one thing in your life, if you could improve one thing in your relationship with your kids, if you could improve
Oh,
one thing
yeah.
in the amount of time that we're standing here, what would it be? Right? All it's designed to do is get people to answer an open-ended question, and they can answer it anywhere. And that's one of the things that I do from a sales training standpoint that many people do not do is many sales trainers try to get you to kind of pin people into a corner, and
Mm,
really, and I'm exactly the opposite. I'll
yeah.
talk to you about anything. I teach a process, 7 steps to building rapport in a minute and a half or less. And
Nice.
one of the about the 4th step is, well, what brought you out here today? And we were literally doing this with a sales force, 2 people in front of the room. One person's task was to ask a question, what brought you out? And the guy said, a battleship.
Oh,
And he goes, a battleship? What color battleship? He said, well, they only come in gray. So why did you get a gray battleship? Well, I got a gray battleship because I wanted to be cool. So what else makes you cool? Right? So then
oh,
he got
wow.
into the process of active listening, which is taking a word, a concept, a phrase from the earlier answer and sending it back in. Anyway, these guys,
Interesting.
they role played this in front of the entire room, and when they were done, then it was time for the other guys to change. And he goes, man, payback's going to be hell on you, buddy, right? So what brought you out? It was my pickup truck. What color pickup truck? Well, it's a red one. It's actually a coaster wagon, and but they utilize the process to create a question and answer period. People make it way too hard. It's,
Yeah.
beautiful night, isn't it? Yeah, it's a great night. Do you like the clear skies or the temperature? the temperature is ideal. Yeah, it's been a little bit warm, but tonight is so nice. The point is, it doesn't have to be hard. None of this has to be hard.
No,
It's simply about asking a question, listening and answering, and then asking another question. That's what sales is, quite frankly.
it is. I think sometimes we get to the point where we're having this great conversation. They say, "Oh, what do you do?" Well, for example, "Oh, yeah, I write books. I help other people write books." "Oh, really? How many books have you sold?" And it's like, well, it's not really about what I sell. It's about providing something that somebody else enjoys. And I never say how many I sell because I feel that's really irrelevant. It's not the quantity, it's the quality, and it's what
Totally.
people get from it. Yeah. And
Totally. I mean, it's
yeah.
it's one of the reasons I use the Mother Teresa quote, if you can't feed 100, feed one.
Oh,
If
that's great.
I was supposed to sell 100 books, I would have sold 100. But if I only
Yeah.
sold one, it was the right one to the right person. It could change the world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You never know where your book or where your talk is going to go or how it's going to open up doors for you.
No, it was funny. I was
Absolutely.
just on a video call before this, and the woman said, I said, where are you located? She goes, "Oh, Toronto." I said, "Very cool." She goes, "Oh, I just got your book." I go, "Well, that's cool. How'd you hear about it in Toronto?" And she goes, "I'm really looking forward to reading it." I said, "Well, they actually work better if you do read them." And you know, so we started playing around with it, and she goes, "No, I'm really looking forward to doing that." And I said, "Well, I'm glad. That's awesome. Thank you for buying it." You know, and she goes, "No, I somebody recommended it to me, so I got it. And then once I got it, that's why I reached out to you, because I wanted to meet you." And I said, "That's really cool."
Wow,
So
that is. That's really neat.
you never know how or where. I mean, that's a long way from Dallas, Texas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is. I was in the veterinary office the other day and I saw my book there, one of my children's books. And it's like, that's really cool.
It is.
You know,
I
no
mean,
idea
that's
how I
the
got there, but that's really cool.
well, that's exactly it. You don't know. I mean, I've written checks to 19 mentors across my career. And I said the same to each one of them when I started. Give me everything you got, and my commitment is I won't keep it. I'll share it with my
Nice.
students or my clients. I will become an extension of you. And so you don't know. It's just like Zig Ziglar when I read See You at the Top, and there was a quote, "Forever changed my life. You can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want."
Isn't
It
that
set a path,
something? Yeah.
and so you never know. I mean, there's a quote that says, "A river achieves places its source never knows."
Oh,
And
that's cool. That's so true.
it,
Yeah.
it is. It's so true. So I know I got upset one time when I said, "Gosh, I don't know if I'm selling enough of this book." And they said, "You're not even using your own coaching. You're the one who says it's kind of irrelevant. It's the right ones." It's, and I went, I had to think back myself and go,
Yeah.
yeah, if it is the right people that got that book, I did good.
Yep.
You just, you got to
Absolutely.
be happy with the intent.
Yeah. Now I know if you're trying to be a New York Times bestselling author, you got to have at least 10,000 sold, but I mean 10,000 of the right people.
That's exactly it. Well, I
That's
think that
awesome.
that's the thing, you know, when people flash here's what's funny is the first book I was ever part of was a New York Times bestseller. So
Oh, wow.
technically, I'm a New York Times bestseller, and I think you're about the fourth person I've ever said that to. I, it's
Saying
like
it to the world now.
well, exactly. It's not that, but it's not that big a deal to me. It's
Yeah.
I'm not. I didn't do it for that, and I did it to provide some quality content to somebody, right?
Right.
And And I think that that becomes the difference, whether it be authors or speakers or trainers. It's what's the intent behind their desire to share the information? Is it to
Yeah.
help the other person become better, or is it so that people can know who they are?
That's interesting you brought that up. I'm giving a talk this Saturday online, and I've had, it was about 6 months ago. I knew exactly what I was going to talk about, and I had it there. And as I'm getting closer, it's like, I don't want to talk about this because I didn't feel that it was going to really serve anybody. I mean, it was nice stories, it was good things to hear, good things to say, but it didn't really give a message about helping other people. And, there is a place for that talk, but this was not it. Or the theme is faith over fear. And, yeah, there was a lot of things I was afraid of, and I did get over it, but the message just wasn't there. And so I think having time to just sit in my chair, recover from vertigo, and get plowed by the bull gave me the opportunity to really think about what happened. And actually, the incident with the bull, I had the moment where I was actually having a panic attack because I saw the bull. He wasn't coming after me. He wasn't doing anything. I just saw him. And I'm sitting in my chair, recovering from that, thinking, this is ridiculous. The panic attack is hurting my body physically because of everything that goes on with that. And two, I'm not able to use my brain at its fullest capacity because I'm so busy being afraid. I can't think right. What would I really do? I was just kind of like frozen in time. And I thought, yeah, this is not where I want to be. And then from there started coming all of these things of, the faith over fear, using other things to go with it. And it's like, yeah, I got to change my story. So I did. And boy, is it
That's
good.
awesome.
It really is so much better.
That's awesome.
But
Congratulations.
yeah, but sometimes you've got to do that. I know there's a couple of stories in books, and I'm not going to mention them because they're like, yeah, they were okay, but I was just starting out, figuring things out and what to write. It's like, oh, I have a really good story for that. And it's like, if I would be approached with that book now, I would have a very different story. But it's all maturity, it's all growing, it's all learning your craft, and finding out, like you said, what's really going to serve other people. What I said was good. I
Right.
mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but now I know how to make it great. It's a big difference.
That's what it
And
takes.
yeah, it's pretty good. So
That's why it was like I said, somebody just reached out and said, "Did you ever think of becoming a bestseller?" I said, "Yeah, a while ago." But
28 books ago.
yeah, it's like, thanks, I appreciate that. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's like I had a conversation earlier today just about what do at some point a lot of things, a lot of different things were important to you. And at some
Yeah.
point all of a sudden you go, yeah, not so much anymore. I mean, I actually want to speak more and train more, not for me necessarily, but to share the years of experience and the experience, the expertise, the knowledge, the wisdom that comes out of all these things,
Oh,
because
yeah.
you see people, you know, who haven't had the time on the planet yet. They will. There
Yeah.
will come a time where all of a sudden they go, "Oh, I've experienced that as well." But experience is a great teacher. It's just an expensive teacher. Better
It
to
is.
borrow somebody
It
else's,
is. Yeah. Oh,
I
it's
just
always
want to make
nicer
mine
to do
available.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fully agree with that.
That's wisdom
Yeah.
on the front porch right there.
Yep. It is. Yeah, you mentioning that makes me think about the magazine I have. It's like, what's the purpose of the magazine? It's to give useful tools to entrepreneurs. And I want to give them the meat and potatoes and the dessert too, and everything that goes with it. But I want them to really be able to have tools that they can use to get further ahead in what they're doing. And we do that by sharing stories with each other, by articles that people are writing in. And it's, I want you to be so excited that the magazine is here, because now you can go through it, you can highlight it, whatever you want to do with it. I mean, it's all e-magazine right now, but really take it and digest it and see how it's going to fit your business. And maybe this story isn't good for you right now, but this other story, it's like, oh man, that's just what I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
So I feel like I put a lot of pressure on me to make sure that what goes in there is really going to be useful for people. It's and there's such a variety, because we go from, someone who's working to become a pastor to someone who's doing AI work and all the tech and the digital, and and everything in between. And we talk about health and everything, mind, body, spirit. It's there because we are complicated human beings who have this vast array of life in us, whether it's
Mhm.
spiritual or physical, emotional, mental, whatever you want to call it. Um, and woohoo or no woohoo, everybody has a different way of looking at life, and you can't do everything for everybody all the time, but you can offer things that can help each person get to where they're going in their business. And maybe this one issue isn't yours, but the next one is, or the one we had 2 months ago was like, oh man, I wish I would have had this 2 months ago. Well, there it is. but
Well, I think
and
that
it's
that's
like the books back here. They're full of different things. They're not about one specific theme. It's not like this is a book on toxic relationships, or this is a book on something else. These books offer a variety of things. It offers art, it offers hope, it offers memoirs, it offers stories that ignite memories in you that maybe you hadn't thought about, that now maybe you want to share. I mean, it's just incredible what people come up with. I think that's why I like anthologies, is everybody gets a different viewpoint of something.
yeah. Well, very much so. The fact is that you never know. I talk about it from the place of high intention, low attachment. Having a high intention of imparting something great for each and every one of the listeners here
Yeah,
today, and a low attachment as to what that is specifically for either them or for me, quite frankly. It's it's where the intention falls, right? We
right.
want to put out work that can be of service to other people, and many times you don't you may never hear the positive effect you've had in somebody's life, or it might be years from now, and
Yes.
whatever it is okay. It might be immediate. Somebody might say, "Wow, that really helped me," but we're not in a society that is overly gracious these days, or full of gratitude enough from that side, right? And
Right. Right.
I mean, it's funny. A guy, we've been working on a deal for a while, and he sent me a piece of news that was not as positive as I would like it to be. And I just went, "Thanks for all you're doing to try to put this together. I appreciate you." And he goes, "I just sent you bad news and you appreciate me." Well, I appreciate you because I appreciate you. I appreciate the fact that we've been working on this.
Yeah.
I mean, eh, why why live without feeling good about living and about doing things and working with people and things? Again, part
Right.
of that is becoming more mature. That's code word for older. But we learn some things over time, and it's just like, man,
Absolutely.
why not just add to the I want to be an adder to the equation. I don't want to be the minus sign anywhere.
There you go. Yeah, that's so true. I last time I flew, And I'm at the airport, and there's someone who's just sweeping up the floors and stuff. And as I'm walking by, I said, I really do want to thank you for doing that, because this airport looks really incredible, and it wouldn't if you weren't here. And they were like, thanks. I appreciate that. It
Yeah.
doesn't take much to tell someone thank you. Um, I had done that one time, and someone goes, why are you thanking them? It's their job. They have to do it. And I go, yeah, it's their job. That doesn't mean we don't have to appreciate them doing it. It's
Exactly.
it's tough, especially in service jobs like that, cleaning the restrooms, whatever. That's a tough job, and most everybody is not appreciative of it. I mean, they're glad, that the bathroom is clean, or
Right.
whatever, but they don't ever bother to tell anybody about it. And it's like, every once in a while you've got to, because wow, think what it would be like if they weren't there. you
Yeah, I
know
got a buddy, Sean G. Murphy. We were talking earlier today, and whenever we're together, he'll walk in and he'll say to somebody, I just want to thank you for all those people that didn't thank you today. I want to make sure that you get your thank you, so I'm going to thank you for them.
Oh, wow, that's
And
awesome.
every time he does it, I'm like, dang it, he beat me to it. It's so cool. But again, it's such a great example of, you know, you can be good to people. That's why we're here. We can
Yeah,
have a wonderful existence. Even in tough times, we can have wonderful existence if we choose to. Again, we have so many choices. Which choices do you take?
yeah,
You know,
yeah. My husband, the other day, I had to tell him, not that I had to, but I really wanted to tell him, thank you for making a meal, because I know he was hurting bad too. I was still not able to even stand up because of the vertigo and stuff that was going on. And I know he was really hurting, but he still took the time to bring me a plate of food. I didn't have to go up and get it. And
that's cool.
and I said, I really want to thank you for doing this. I says, I know you're hurting, but I really do appreciate you taking care of me too. And sometimes I
That's
think
awesome.
we forget to thank our family, thank the
We
people
do.
that were around all the time, that hears all the grumbling and complaining of why this didn't work and why that didn't work and is it ever going to work? and and just say thank you. Yeah,
Very much so.
it's important.
Agreed.
Well, we've got a few minutes left here, but people are going to want to know how to get a hold of you. It's like, how can you read my emails?
Well, there's a couple ways. My website, I don't hide very well. So my website is scottschilling.com. And my email is scott@scottschilling.com. So please reach
Awesome.
out. I mean, you know, I would love to talk to you, or, entertain questions or comments, or whatever. Again, I think we all have the opportunity to be adders in other people's lives. And the
Yeah,
question is, do we just choose to do it or not? And if we
right.
want to, we can. And if we don't have to. But why
Yeah,
not?
that's true. That's true. So, Scott, if somebody's coming to you to, work with the sales or the marketing and stuff, how what's a time frame that's typical? Does it vary depending on what's going on, or do you have certain courses that are set up?
Well, I do. Yeah, I do have online courses as well. Um, you know, but again, a big part of it is really understanding their situation.
Okay.
Yes, I have training courses and I have books and I have all sorts of different things that can be of service to people. But I tend to really want to understand their situation so that we can get down to it to serve them the best, the fastest we possibly can. And so that's just a conversation. Again, reach out, scott@scottschilling.com. I'll send you my calendar link. We'll have a conversation. And typically I find out a lot of things about people, what's their greatest challenge. And we work to address that. Some people have
Yes.
things that they think are big that aren't that big. Some people have things that they don't think are that big that are plenty big. So, it's a matter of, I had a client thank me today because it's funny. I saved the client in two directions, because two parties got upset with each other, and I got in the
Oh,
middle of it, and I actually calmed it down and saved the entire deal for everybody. And they're like, "Thank you so much for doing that." And I go, "Well, wasn't that what you were working to do in the first place?" Sometimes people don't, they don't see things as clearly as somebody else does. So, um,
right.
again, it's like, let's figure out how to add to society and what we're doing and do good things together. I truly believe it's about adding respect, honor, and dignity back to the planet. We don't have to agree with each other, but we should at least respect each other, honor each other. And when we do that appropriately, dignity is created for all of us. So
Oh,
let's
very
just make the
good.
world a better place.
Yeah, that's it. Leave it better than when you found it.
Exactly. Pretty much so.
And I know that seems like, oh yeah, that's impossible in the world, but I like I believe it was Audrey Hepburn that said the word itself says I'm possible. I
Yep.
love that.
Exactly. Well, I think that that's the biggest thing. It becomes down to intention again, right?
Mhm.
If you Henry Ford said it, think you can, think you can't, you're right either way.
That's
If you
right.
think you can create better situations, you can create better situations. If you don't think you can, you won't. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Again, why would you want to live in pain or not living your dream if you could live your dream? I think it
Oh,
makes sense
yeah.
to me to go for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of that faith over fear thing. It's like, yeah, it's scary, but you don't know what's going to happen. Everybody's doing the what if, and it's like, well, what if it's amazing?
Yeah,
What
that's
if it's
exactly it.
wonderful?
Could very
So
well be.
that's right. So, Scott, thank you so much for being here. I'm getting a little worn out, so I'm cutting this a little earlier than normal.
That's all good. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, our audience, for being here. We really hope you got some not just golden nuggets from this, but things that you can use those golden nuggets with, the tools to take those nuggets and make your business better. And we'll see you next time on Wisdom on the Front Porch.
Thank you for joining us today on Wisdom on the Front Porch with your host, Ellis Kirkpatrick. You can find us on our website, wisdomonthefrontporch.com, see previous episodes of the podcast, and view issues of the magazine. Did you know you can submit questions, leave reviews, or suggest topics? You can also tell us where your favorite front porch location is and what it means to you. We hope you gain value and insight from today's or previous talks. We appreciate your support for us so we can continue to provide value and expertise to you and others. Subscribe to Wisdom on the Front Porch magazine and join in next week when we bring you another great insight into the world of entrepreneur culture and lifestyle. Make today a great day. Always believe that something wonderful is going to happen.